This is Genesis Does. I am your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and this is Shadow Blasters by Sigma Enterprises and Cyclone System, published by Sage's Creation and Sigma Enterprises. And it's an odd game from 1990 that truly is Genesis Does What Nintendon't. Never released on a Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, never available on a Wii or Wii U Virtual Console. This truly stands alone in the library of 16-bit Sega Genesis games. But what it also it stands for a good cleaning because it didn't work in my analog Mega SG. So I got out the Q-tips and the rubbing alcohol. Now you can use a 1-up card if you want to. This is my preferred method. But as always, the higher the concentration of alcohol, 70% or up, the better, because you want it to evaporate. You don't want it to leave anything on the cartridge that you're cleaning, any of those pins that you're trying to rub clean, which is exactly why you don't want to blow into your cartridge, because then you're leaving saliva in there, which will corrode the very pins that you were trying to get working. So please, never ever blow in your cartridge. I can't stress that enough. Give it a good thorough scrubbing, and when you take out the Q-tip and take a good look at it, you should see a whole bunch of grime that was from somebody's dirty console before yours. You, right? Somebody that didn't take care of their system and let a bunch of dust and food particles and God knows what else get inside of their console, and it transferred onto their cartridge, or maybe even they left their cartridge in a dusty garage. I mean, who knows where this one was left, because it feels like there was sticky residue on the front and the back. I suspect that may have been price labels that somebody peeled off, but then again, I don't want to think about what else it could be other than that, but I'm definitely getting a dirty Q-tip out of this one. Just look at this bad boy. I'll spare you the rest and skip ahead to where I finally got it clean enough to work. There we go. It's finally clean enough for my analog to accept it. I could have just booted the ROM off the SD card, but I wanted to actually use the cartridge that I was showing you and make this as authentic as possible. Authentic in every way except for being in an original Sega Genesis, but the output quality of the video is going to be much higher through the analog Mega SG on this HD TV. Now you get 6 different areas you can select at the beginning and 4 different characters you can select. And much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when you select one of those 4, that's a life. And when that one dies, you can't get them back. So you have to select one of the other 3. So it's like you have 4 lives, and when you use all 4, it's game over, man. So let's start with Horatio, who has these throwing stars, ninja style, that he can shoot left and right at the enemies. Now you see these things that look like aces, the ace of spades, and you can pick them up to restore your health, but since they seem to be color-coded to the 4 different players, only the ones that match you seem to affect your life or your meter. At least that's how it appears to me from playing this. And I wish I'd had some warning that the platforms were going to start sinking underneath my feet. I suddenly had very bad memories of AVGN, where James Rolfe was playing Lester the Unlikely, and he was talking about how the platforming was next to impossible for a character that is timid and afraid of everything and barely controls it all. I wouldn't say this is in any way near as bad, but I thought that was an awfully cheap death for the very first level of the game I played, knowing I only have 4 lives, to just have the floor suddenly sink out from under me with no warning. Anyway, for my second life here, I appear to have some sort of ball projectile that I can fire in either direction, but it's just as effective as the ninja stars, so I really don't think it makes any difference. I still don't know what they're saying when they pick up the power-ups to restore life and health, though. It sounds like they're going, "What?" Which makes no sense unless you're a fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, I ordered some pancakes. What? And I ordered some bacon. What? And then I ordered a spade. What? And I ordered Motorhead. What? And then I played Shadow Blasters. What? So it's time for the first boss encounter of the game. Didn't seem to take me that long to get here. Use a power-up here. You get one of these per turn or life, at least as far as I can tell. Unless collecting those Ace of Spades will restore that, but you get one Mega Blast per character. That's as far as I can tell. And this boss has a pattern, but the problem is I have no way to run faster to get out of the pattern. So I try to evade it, and then I get hit with fists. And something I'm now noticing as I watch this again is that when you restart in mid-air with whatever character you selected. Why they chose it that way, I'll never know. I'm sure that's an intentional decision and not a programming glitch. Maybe it's so you can avoid falling into a pit like I did with the first life. That's as good an explanation as any. But if you didn't know that you were hanging in midair, you might get hit by something that hit you before that was throwing stuff at you in midair. I mean, I don't know what the thinking is on that. So, as I was trying to say earlier, if you could run, you could avoid some of these. If you could double jump, you could avoid some of these. But you just have to tough it out until you finally land enough hits. And the boss doesn't have a life meter, so you can't even tell how many hits it's going to take. I'd call that a flaw, but for a game this weird, I don't know if I'm even picking too many flaws per se, because it's an obscure game, it's a true example of Genesis does, and despite some of the negatives, like the fact that you start a new level with just as much health as you had after the end of the last level, and the fact that bosses have no life meter, I can be forgiving because this is a weird, obscure game. Well, that life meter thing for my character just bit me in the ass. My new character is floating in the air and shooting upward to hit the projectiles, and then a sinking floor once again kills me. How cheap. Game over. Game over, yeah, no. Well, at least it lets you continue. So I'll take a sip of iced tea. I'll give it another shot. Let's select a different area this time. How about we go to the future? I wish I could say back to the future, but I've never been there before, so it's the first time. Now, the lack of a box or manual does make me wonder what the point of these 6 stages is. So, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to actually read from the Wikipedia entry and see if it can explain any of this to us. Ahem. Shadow Blasters is a side-scrolling platform game. The player can control one character at a time and choose from a pool of 4. Each character is able to walk, jump, crouch, and fire a projectile. For the most part, the player is free to move forward and backward as desired. As the player progresses, characters become more powerful by picking up power-ups for the attributes of speed, jump, and power. Okay, so I guess those Ace of Spades power-ups I was collecting do actually affect different attributes. They don't just specifically help one character, they build up your overall stats. So that's good to know. And going back to the description, power-ups do not roll over into the character pool if the current character is at the max for that respective attribute, meaning a character can only gain attributes from a power-up if that character is in play when the power-up is collected. Okay, so I guess I wasn't entirely wrong about the power-ups being character-specific. The player can switch characters at any point simply by pressing pause and selecting a different character. While this is a powerful asset, once a character dies, he or she can't be revived. This effectively limits the total lives to 4. Once the last character is dead, the game is over. Yeah, I already said that earlier. The game consists of 6 levels. Okay, this is what I wanted to know. The explanation for these different territories. Mountain, Street, Glen, Harbor, Forest, and Future. In the Japanese version, Glen was named Meadow and Mountain was named Rock. Well, that doesn't explain anything. Oh, here we go. Plot. The evil god Ashura has unleashed hordes of monsters and demons onto Earth, hoping to take control of the planet as well as the hearts of men. The good god Hyperion has recruited 4 of Earth's most powerful warriors and assembled them into a team. The ninja warriors named Kotaro and Ayami, a Buddhist monk named Kinbo, and a fencer named Senshuru. In the game's English localization, their names were changed to Horatio, Tiffany, Marco, and Leo, respectively. That's it. That's all Wikipedia has to say about this weird game. Released August 10th in Japan and August 9th in North America. So, oddly enough, if this is correct, then Shadow Blasters came out one day in the US before it came out in Japan. And that doesn't usually happen. Usually, it's the other way around. Games come out in Japan first, then get localized for North America. So, they must have been really confident this was going to be a big hit in the North American market. Despite that, I've never seen another copy of the game other than the one I have loose. I've never even seen anybody playing this before my playthrough. Not saying it doesn't exist, just that I haven't seen it. Oh, and this boss is a Mother Brain ripoff. How about that? So, just out of curiosity now, I'm going to see what a loose version of this game goes for, because I've had this cartridge for years. It's been sitting in a box most of that time, and I never even thought about it until I started doing the Genesis Does series and thought I should go through some of my console exclusive games and play them. So let's see what this obscure 1990 Sega Genesis game fetches for a loose cartridge. Alright, $12 loose, $26 complete. That is 2019 prices, depending on when you are watching this video. So, might be worth less or more based on that. But I guess it's not the cheapest of games. It's not dirt common, but it's certainly not the most expensive of games either, because at $12 you could easily snag one if you find a listing for it, that is, or if you go into a retro shop and they have a loose cartridge. $12 is not a huge ask. It's just, is it really worth it? Are you going to get $12 of enjoyment out of it? Maybe. It's a little brutal in the learning curve, but I could see myself getting into it if I played it for longer and got a little bit more of the patterns down. I do like the creativity. The music isn't much home to write about, but the stage select and the fact you can choose from the 4 different protagonists is not too bad. So I'm going to give this thumbs in the middle, leaning up. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching Genesis Does, and I'll see you next time.